Welcome, listeners, to Season 4, Episode 6 of the Gateway Geeks Podcast. This time, we're talking High School Musical and The Rocketeer with an abundance of hosts. Join us as we interrogate at great length and with numerous sidebars the structure and significance of Disney starmaking, Jennifer Connoly, clowns, and Bruce Willis' singing crew. Now your hosts, Joe, Chris, Sarah, Aaron, and Wendy.
I can still splice film with a belt knife and a piece of Scotch tape.
Oh,
nice.
beautiful.
I have to say, again, every time we have, like, Sarah and Wendy and Lisa, every time we have a woman on this podcast, I'm struck by how, like, you actually have some kind of expertise in a thing instead of just randomly pontificating for hours. So I thank you for that.
I laughed when you're like, Aaron's like, can we watch High School Musical? I'm like, you do remember I'm an 80s theater kid, right?
So, okay, we'll talk about High School Musical. Let us first introduce ourselves. Here's how I propose we do it. You just say your own name, and we'll go, oh my God, what order are we going to go in? Let's go.
I actually have the show notes up.
Oh, do you? Okay, cool. So let's go by, let me do it first since I'm talking, and then we'll go like Wendy, Sarah, Chris, Aaron. Is that
I should probably, yeah.
Okay. So welcome to the 6th episode of Season 4 of the Gateway Geeks Podcast. I am one of your mini hosts, Joe.
I am Wendy, who was not aware that I was marrying into a podcast when I married Aaron.
Congratulations. I'm Sarah Jane Connor.
I'm Chris Knetzer. And I'm Aaron Robb.
Good job, guys. Well done.
We did it!
We did it.
6 episodes into the season, we finally figured it out.
Awesome. So for this episode, we've got some things that we're going to like briefly touch on, but what we essentially did is we watched High School Musical and The Rocketeer, two very dissimilar, and yet perhaps we'll find some common threads there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So the first thing I just wanted to mention really briefly is friend of the show and occasional, I think, Aaron, how many times has Tim been on the podcast? Tim Beam? Maybe like twice, once?
Yeah. I'd say twice is a good safe number.
Yeah, so Tim is a cool guy. He's an English professor at Jefferson College, and he's big film buff, and he's a big pop culture buff. He had this tweet that he put up just about like kind of descending, slowly into I don't know what to call it, just like being depressed because the world is as it is, and not feeling so great. So I wanted to send a shout out to Tim first, and tell him that like we're all thinking about him and stuff. And I want to ask everyone else how they're doing because, how's everybody doing? Who wants to go first? I'll
go first. Good. I mean, with the ever-present asterisk in 2020, my immediate family is going through some stuff, which you guys know, and my mom is actively dying, so that's a whole thing. But the plus side is she has all the care that she needs and is remaining positive. Wendy and I have just are now cohabitating as a married couple and are having all kinds of are having all kinds of fun with domestic projects like cleaning a rug and realizing that we're both on the wrong side of our 40s and 50s to be hauling a wet carpet up from the basement.
And then I tried to remount a couple of shelves last night and didn't realize that there was wood straight under the drywall, so there was nowhere for the toggle bolts to open. So just as we started to put things back on the shelves, we damn near brained ourselves as the shelf came crashing down, taking out another shelf, which included several glass jars. It was not pretty. And we're like, I think we're done for the day.
Yep.
It's good time to stop.
Let's go watch The Rocketeer.
Yeah, no, Aaron's mostly been at home. Like I said, I'm essential, so I have the advantage of at least for the past several months, having been going out at least 3 times a week on a regular basis to work. Now I'm working remotely in the mornings and in the office in the afternoons, and it makes me want to boil my skin off most of the time, but I take public transit to my office. But it's weird because I work in property management around a town that has a major university, which decided to open in person, which is an incredibly dumb idea. On the other hand, it means that suddenly we're renting apartments where we haven't for the past 4 months. So I'm incredibly morally conflicted.
Yeah, 2 of us also work for institutions that have decided to reopen under questionable circumstances, so you're not
Yeah. And the other thing we're having to deal with is, since a lot of places are not allowing in-person visits, I mean, the Social Security Administration does not want to see your plague-ridden face. Getting his ID changed up here and getting my name changed after marriage, you have to mail your stuff, wait for the, the poor old broken down horse that is the half-starved horse that is the U.S. postal system to take your documents somewhere. They do something, then they mail them back to you. Then someone from someone else mails you the new documents.
Yeah, and they do not take photocopies of your license or anything like that. It's you send them the whole real thing.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so I literally was carrying around a copy of my driver's license for like a month and a half, because I had to mail them the certified copy of our marriage license and my original driver's license, which they then scanned and emailed back to me.
That's crazy.
It's so weird that the address is in Moscow too, but it seemed legit.
Why would anyone want to suddenly move to Chicago? Why would anyone want to suddenly rid themselves of a last name that begins in 3 consonants and starts with a Z? Are you changing your name when you get married? Hell yes.
Yeah.
For those who did not meet me before this podcast, my last name is Zdrowdowski. Z as in zebra, D as in David, R-O-D as in David again, O-W-S-K-I. I've been spelling it that way for 50 years. I'm done now.
I 100% legitimately offered to take my wife's last name when we got married, because she didn't have any siblings and her dad didn't have any siblings, and it was this whole thing. I'm like, oh, like, one of my last name's Knetzer. Like you said, it's a phonetic nightmare. It's a Teutonic nightmare. And like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take your name, no problem. There's 1,000 Knetzers. We're Catholic. They're just falling out of trees around here. And it literally, a month before our wedding, my wife realized I would then be Chris Farley, and that was the end of it.
My brother has 2 kids. It's their problem. The thing I don't understand is that when you name your children, I mean, you presumably love your children. So my brother decided that the appropriate name to give his eldest daughter was Zoe. So her name is Zoe Zdrowdowski. And I'm like, this poor child will never be first for anything in her life.
On the plus side, that kind of sounds like the name of like a starship captain or something.
Yeah, it's being ZZ as nicknames go. ZZ is not awful.
Yeah.
I feel like she has to start a ZZ Top cover band.
Yes. Legal.
I do not yet know if she is musical.
Or can grow a beard.
I know she can't grow a beard.
Darn.
She's got better hair than like all of us put together. It's really embarrassing.
Unfair.
So Sarah, how are you?
I work like 30 hours a week at a grocery store. So like, I'm fine, but I'm very tired.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole, it's like Wendy was saying too, that whole like essential employee thing. I don't know. I feel like the essential, like, it leaves a lot out when someone says essential employee. Like, they're not really explaining the full extent of the problem going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quote essential because I'm the one you call when your toilet plugs up.
Right. Yeah.
And also I have to move paper from place to place, which has to happen in person.
What's so weird about it at like the college I work at, and I don't know, maybe it's this way for you too, Chris, but like, you're an essential employee, but essentially what I do is I go and I sit in my office like Hannibal Lecter with the doors closed, and I talk to people through the window or through Zoom. So like, I don't really understand I mean, it's essential, but it's not essential from work. So there's that weird
Yeah.
like if we have to suffer, everyone has to suffer. You have to come into the office thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be very interesting when all this is over, and they realize that a lot of people don't really need to be like in an office to do their job. Like they don't actually have to be there.
Well, see, my problem is that I'm management, but all of the people I supervise are essential, who have to be on campus to do their job. And so they tried to have me work remotely and have all of them here. And on so many levels, this was not working for me morally, where I'm like, yeah, no, like one, I don't know. I honest to God, I just never sat well. Where I'm like, no, I can't tell all of them they have to be there while I'm in my pajamas, kicking back from home, like watching them on surveillance cameras. Like, no, this
playing Warhammer on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
I cannot work from the same machine where my Steam library is. I quickly discovered
That's
this.
fair.
I don't have
Very
that much.
reasonable.
I'm working remotely in the mornings. There are projects that I can do remotely. I'm going to be doing a big data entry for a property move-in. I'll be entering the names to the system of all the tenants that will be moving in on September 1st, which will then be uploaded that day. But a lot of what I do, like I said, it's putting pieces of physical paper, and someone has to put hands on paper and put it in various orders and send it to various people. So for a while I was working remotely, and I was in the office 2 evenings and 1 weekend day by myself alone, so that we weren't exposed to anyone, which was really weird.
Mhm.
And so this kind of gets us to the question of like opening schools and forced openings of various businesses and that sort of thing. We could talk about that briefly, but we really should talk about High School Musical as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Yes.
as I said, the only safe place to open schools right now is through a screen, and that's how we all viewed
yeah.
High School Musical,
Yay.
That's
Hey.
which was in fact, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's Aaron's blog. I did a little checking because we were talking about these movies, and I was trying to set them in a chronological context.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
High School Musical was made in 2006 and released in 2007, about 15 years ago. Disney Channel, by the way, premiered in '83. So Disney Channel's long been doing this, and Disney original movies, which were originally called a bunch of other things now. This was the most successful Disney original movie ever, with 17.2 million viewers. DVD sales were insane, and it was also the first full-length movie to be released on iTunes.
That does make sense. Yeah. Oh yeah, that would have been right when iTunes started releasing movies. Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
it was a condensed version. They shaved 2 minutes off, but it was the first movie that was released that way. So it, in effect, is 15 years ago. It is generational from most of us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm feeling really old now that you said that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
But wait till we get to Rocketeer. That was
Yeah.
Yeah. So when the Disney Channel used to have like the Mickey Mouse Club back in the day, was that just on one of the 3 random networks? Where did that actually show up?
That was actually on TV. That was in New York. It was on WABC
It was an ABC
production.
product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I
the
don't
new
think-
one that like all the 90s pop stars were on was like on the actual Disney Channel.
Yeah, like I said,
think-
83 was when that
Yeah.
kicked in.
Right.
But like the Annette Funicello Mickey Mouse Club, that would have been
Yeah,
ABC. Yeah.
I was post Annette. I was watching it in like the mid 70s
Mm.
and early 80s. So
We all take it for granted now that Disney owns everything. We forget that before the digital age, Disney already owned ABC. So they've been
God,
a juggernaut owning everything for a very long time.
Sunday
yeah.
night movies on the Wonderful World of Disney.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
That's
Oh, I watched so many of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, my situation with High School Musical was that I watched the middle 5 minutes at some point was like, what is this? Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Years later, I was drugged back to it by Sarah.
It's me.
Like,
It's always me.
no, start from the beginning. It's a garbage masterpiece.
This was the first episode of our web series.
Yes, of
Yeah.
oh my God, this is terrible. You should watch it. OMG, titties week.
Yes.
Was High School Musical, and I was legit shocked at how much I ended up falling in love with
Yes.
these dorks.
No, because like the original plan for OMG Titties We was like me just like torturing Chris with terrible garbage that he would hate, but he like watched this and was immediately like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so we pivoted.
Yeah. And Kara, that's still public, right, on YouTube?
It is. It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely link.
Yeah,
that.
you can link it in the show notes. Like we don't do any new ones, but if people want to watch it, they can. Yeah.
Now we just watch things and enjoy each other's company and don't record it.
It's so
Yeah.
weird, isn't it? Just yeah. So, but I had never seen High School Musical, and I was actually very intimidated when you guys described it because I was like, oh my God, how am I even going to be able to tell like which is the original? Because Chris was like, there's like 4 of them, and there's a TV show, but the TV show comes after the movie.
No, there's 3 of them. They're numbered, so that's pretty easy.
All right. All right.
Okay,
I have a question. I have a question about the franchise.
Yeah.
In any of the High School movie or High School Musical, the movies.
I can already answer your question. It's the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know exactly what you're trying to say. It's the third one. The third one, there's finally a musical.
Okay.
You do not see a High School Musical until the 3rd movie.
You see, in this particular example, we see the tryouts for the.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask all of you. If you were told, oh, there's a sequel to High School Musical that was made in the same calendar year as the release of High School Musical, it was written very quickly, what would the sequel be?
The
Would
musical.
you say, we'll see the musical they were trying out for?
Yeah.
You would be wrong.
Yep.
Fast forward to the summer after the musical, where essentially High School Musical 2 is the almost exact plot of Dirty Dancing, from Patrick Swayze's perspective, and Jennifer Grey is the antagonist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a couple clarifying questions.
Oh,
that I
by the
have-
way,
Yeah.
and the second one's the best one.
the
The
second
second one is the best one. Like the first time you watch it, you're like, but then eventually you realize, no, the second one is the best one.
Yes.
It's a grower.
Well, and also the thing to remember during all of this is we're looking at movies that were the 2 movies this week. We're looking at movies that were pitched for very different audiences. This was never intended for an adult audience. It was intended for an audience of high school students. And
not even high school students.
Yeah,
This
preteens.
is aimed at like 8-year-olds. Like
preteens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all of us looking at it, it's really, really hard to remember when like that kind of thing was super important.
yeah.
Let's all just take a minute before we get into this movie to appreciate that this movie launched the career of 2 A-list movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
This movie brought us Zephron.
Everyone should remember that the only actor in this movie that anyone had ever heard of when it came out was Ashley Tisdale.
Yeah.
And she was only known from other Disney projects.
Yeah.
Disney sort of manufactures them in a large factory somewhere.
Yeah.
I love Tisdale.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
She is
she's-
underrated.
She's doing an incrediable performance in this movie. Like, she knows exactly what this movie is in a way that a lot of her castmates do not.
do not understand. So, okay, speaking of Sharpay, so
Yes.
okay, I was confused. So, a lot of you are former theater kids. I was not a theater kid. I worked in the shop at the theater. I was never in anything. I never was even like a light guy or anything. I just helped like build sets. So I kind of had some experience of this, and some of this was a little bit foreign to me. So Sharpay's singing partner, can he not read?
That is implied. Yes.
Yes, that is implied that he's illiterate.
Okay.
He is implied that he exists to be pretty and to make her look good.
Is
Yeah.
that her brother?
Yes.
They are
Yes.
twins. Yes.
Okay. I was just trying to like figure out that kid. That
No,
very...
listen. The emotions you're experiencing are correct and reasonable. Like,
Yeah, I was like, huh? Because again, as a high school theater geek, discovering that you have a crush on a guy that is not interested in girls is pretty much a rite of passage. We all go through it. So I just automatically assumed he was gay. And then I heard the word brother.
listen, he's
like,
definitely gay. Like,
yeah, but I didn't realize that he was her brother.
Yeah.
Until they were explicit about it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, click, click, click. Okay, refocus.
Look,
Yeah.
I don't want to keep referring to High School Musical 2, which is like the text of High School Musical. It's simultaneously the Cimmerillion and Return of the King of this series. But High School Musical 2 features this guy and this guy singing a song called I Don't Dance?
It's called I Don't Dance.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
I Don't Dance. That is such a thinly veiled metaphor for I'm not actually gay. It ends with them wearing each other's clothes.
It is a masterpiece of homoeroticism.
Oh man, that's actually what was pretty confusing to me because the one person in that who was quite obviously gay, a gay man, was like, what would he have even been like were the musical to proceed? He wasn't even in. He didn't even make it into the audition. So that was very confusing to me, right? Because
What are you?
Are we talking about 2 or 1? You've lost me.
oh no, I'm talking about the first. I'm talking about Ryan, the character Ryan.
Who would be playing his sister's romantic interest. What is so
Yes.
difficult about that?
No. Yes. That's what it is. Yes.
Oh my God.
Joe, remember in the show notes when I referred to them as the blonde Targaryen twins?
And then I did love how like the one physical marker of him being gay, besides him obviously being gay, is that he wore like a pink cabbie hat. Like that's
No, he wore like 9 hats.
He always wore a hat.
Movie, and that's how you know he's gay.
that's
Yeah,
it.
he always wore a hat. He had the golf hat. He had the derby hat for not the derby, the fedora. Sorry, trilby for when he was doing the tap number.
Yep.
So yeah, he was always wearing a hat.
That was a fast.
The thing to also remember about the era that this was made in is that this was peak Disney Channel over accessorizing their characters.
Oh yeah.
And
It's like let's wear 3 belts at a time.
right,
Like,
but it's kind of on the downward slope, and so it's a little like it's kind of lost. But Sharpay and Ryan's characters are actually like Disney Channel in-jokes.
yeah.
They like personify all of the over-the-topness of the Disney Channel aesthetic at the time.
Uh-huh.
I
And
read
then-
it less as that and more as they are obviously very affectedly theatrical because they are
That
the
too, yeah.
stars.
That
And
too,
having
I have just watched the commentary tracks.
having worked with pretty much these people,
Yes.
over the top affectedness. Like I said, I was an 80s theater kid.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
we wore lavender spiked bracelets unironically. So yeah, no, I still retain many of those mannerisms, but no, I took it to be that the theater is our little kingdom, which this movie is mostly about. Everyone has their little place because when you're in high school, it's all about finding out who you are, and everybody gets stereotyped. Before we started recording, we were talking about freaks and geeks.
Mhm.
So the message that I took from this movie was, again, a very positive thing for young people in that you can be more than one thing.
Right.
You can step outside your little kingdom, but it's clearly here are the jocks, and here are the theater kids, and here, I mean, you know that we just didn't get to see the band geeks in this one, but you know they're there.
Right.
Yep.
And there were also the we're not saying that they are the stoner kids because there are
Yes,
no drugs
yes,
in a Disney movie.
Excuse
but
me,
these
they
are
were
the stoner kids.
skaters.
Yeah,
They were
They were
skaters.
skaters.
They were skater boys.
yeah.
Yes, the one who played the cello,
Yes.
Yes.
because
Look,
that was
that
his
musical
one thing
number-
that he. Yeah, that was his one thing that he could do that wasn't a stoner thing. Like the baseball player. Apparently, everyone has one out. Like they decided when they were building their characters, there was one random role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they picked up an extra skill unrelated to the rest of their skill set.
Yeah.
Now, like the flip side of that is kind of accurate to that thing we do as teenagers, where we decide, okay, this is my thing, and I'm going to build my personality around it now.
Exactly.
And then-
You try on different personalities. That's what high school and college are about.
Yeah.
Now, that song, though, that Stay in Your Lane song and all the
Oh,
plot
yeah.
that follows from it is like a thing I could talk about forever. Because what I love is that, so these two, Sharpay and Ryan, are structurally the antagonists of the story.
Mhm.
They don't actually do anything to our main characters. They are just in opposition. These two shitbirds are the actual villains of the story.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
they're
everything
quote-unquote
bad
friends.
that happens to the characters happens because of their friends.
But
Yeah.
how accurate is that to your high school experience,
is
where it was
true.
your
You are
friends
not
that fucked
wrong.
you over, and your quote-unquote enemies don't know you exist?
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
I do have to say I enjoyed the many instances where either Zac Efron's character or what the hell is that actual character's name? Is that Chad?
Gabriella? Oh,
No,
The friend?
the friend, his
The friend is
basketball
named
friend.
Chad, yeah.
Yeah. So how like they'd be running and they'd be sneaking up on each other and they'd like hide just by doing some weird cartoon thing against the wall. I
Yes.
thought that'd be highly amusing.
Oh, that whole sequence when he's trying, they've set up the sneaking out of the basketball game so he can go
Yeah.
to the callbacks. That's pure up Bugs Bunny level
Yes.
cartoon sneaking. It just needs the music.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
It is pure up.
Zac Efron is so underrated as a physical comedic actor.
That's true, honestly.
Yeah,
It's
his
everything he
physicality her physicality was pretty good. She was very good in when she had her lab coat on or was being the smart girl. She was really good at keeping things focused and restrained. And then she had a very different movement pattern when she was outside that and exploring, doing the theater thing or doing something different. Or no, I don't want to be the smart girl. I want to be do something different here.
Okay, now that's V Huds. I have a very different take on Vanessa Hudgens. Now, I'm going to box all this. Sarah will attest to my undying love of Vanessa Hudgens, right?
That's why Chris
Yeah.
has the screen, the fake screen, because behind it is actually his shrine to Vanessa Hudgens. He doesn't want us to.
So, Vanessa
We have to
Hudgens
look up
is,
how old Vanessa Hudgens was when they filmed this movie.
yeah, like 16, 17, like
I can't remember now.
she was a
I
legal
think-
child.
I think she was legal. I don't know though.
Right. So let's stipulate the fact that Vanessa Hudgens is a great singer
Hmm.
and has fantastic chemistry with Zac Efron.
Was she
As a,
actually singing in this? It's because it kind of sounded like
she is, he isn't.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
He's dubbed. Yeah, everyone else is singing for themselves. He's dubbed.
And for anybody who's a professional singer, he's obviously dubbed. He's not even breathing in the right places. Oh my God. I looked at Aaron like 3 minutes of the movie and went, he's not singing.
Yeah.
Oh, and like 75% of the dialogue in this movie is ADR'd. Like,
Yeah.
especially Vanessa Hudgens. It's clear that she was whispering in every take. And they had to go back and get her to bring it up a little bit. Vanessa Hudgens, through High School Musical 1 and 2, cannot act. And
Yeah.
The acting that she is doing is very clearly, she was given clear direction.
yes. And,
Because it is a very simple physicality of get tight, be tight and then be loose. And that can be directed to pretty much anybody who can walk and chew gum.
yes.
Yeah.
And what but that doesn't that didn't worry anyone too much because she also has no character and has
Yep.
nothing to do.
Yeah.
for all three movies. And in all three movies, at some point, they come up with a reason why she fucks off and disappears for an act. Because now,
Does not matter to this franchise at all.
no, and also it took her a long time to pick up how to do choreography, which if you watch in the wide shots, they're doing a lot of,
Yeah, she's never lead in any of the dance sequences.
except the solo, which is like the worst number in the whole movie. Like it's totally from a completely different movie, and it shouldn't
Oh
be
yeah,
here.
that's the worst song in the thing.
The
Yeah.
initial karaoke scene is quite funny because watching them both trying to like be the big acting scene, and they're standing on a karaoke stage that's approximately the size of a postcard.
Yeah.
And at one point, like he gets in her face singing, and she like almost goes off the little stage box because she's like, now what do I do?
Yeah. That sort of scene is very dangerous. Have you all ever seen, it's a movie called The Commitments. It's based on a Roddy Doyle play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I know what you're talking about though.
Right, and so for listeners who don't know, Roddy Doyle, he's an Irish playwright, and it's a story about like a band that comes together from a group of like working class Irish folks, and they make it big, yada, yada, yada. But the central premise of that is that their singer is like, he's like some drunk guy at a wedding, and he just randomly starts singing, and then, oh, look, he's like this amazing soul singer. I feel like a lot of people watch movies like that and like High School Musical, and then they get to a party somewhere and they decide, fuck it, I'm going to go for it. And then they really embarrass themselves. Which is the central point of karaoke in the United States, to embarrass yourself. So it's fine.
Yeah, music is a religion, karaoke is a cult. I've been a singer and an instrumentalist since I was 8 years old. I love my friends deeply. I'm not going to subject myself to them at karaoke because it will just hurt everyone. There will be lots of hurt feelings, and we won't have any fun.
Well, and the thing is that's interesting is like in Japan, when you go to karaoke, it's like a hobby. It's not like, like it's not the same thing where it's like, people get drunk, but it's not like, let's just get drunk and go horrify this bartender for 25 minutes. It's like every week you go to karaoke, so presumably you would get better over time, I guess.
Well, and people have their own their regular songs that they do, which are never pitched for altos. Excuse me.
It just suddenly occurred to me, like, you could not make The Commitments now. It's literally a movie about 5 white Irish dudes that are like, hey, let's do soul.
Well, I had to read the play, and I can't remember if it's in the movie, because I took like an Irish cinema class. I'm reading the Roddy Doyle play, and in the play it says, the Irish are the blacks of Europe. Like, can you imagine like, being in a movie theater and someone on screen saying that? I think I would just, like, melt.
Well, and again, there was discrimination, yes, but the Irish were practically slaves too. I'm also half Irish, so don't even get me started on that.
No.
But that is a viewpoint of a particularly, usually traditionally Catholic, traditionally Irish background,
right?
Where the entire world thinks we're shite.
And what they're talking about in the United States is indentured servitude, which is
something different.
Yeah.
But the idea that the rest of Europe looks on them like shite, that is part of the self-image, and part of that, you don't get to tell me what to do, part of that brawling, cartoonish Irish stereotype. Stereotypes come from sources.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll watch The Commitments at some other point. Does anyone, shall we move on to Rocketeer? Does anyone have anything they want to say about High School Musical? Like, maybe
I haven't talked about my hot take.
Oh yeah.
No, I had a sudden realization during this rewatch, because High School Musical is a rich text, and every time you rewatch it, you discover something new.
Close reading is required.
Yes, I realized on this go round, my revelation on this go round was that this entire thing is actually about Troy, Zac Efron's character, coming to terms with his own bisexuality.
Yeah.
Could totally see that.
Yeah.
The two things that I couldn't stop thinking about after watching High School Musical was one, Zach's hair did not more resembled the CGI cartoon Star Wars: The Clone Wars than it did actual human hair.
That was the style at the time.
Yeah, but it just
That's what people were doing.
And the other thing is, as a comic book fan, I've grown to accept willing suspension of disbelief. But the thing that immediately took me out of, yes, I know this is supposed to be a musical and heightened reality and so forth, was, so we're just supposed to ignore the drama teacher walking into the men's washroom or locker room.
The female drama teacher taking a stroll through the boys' locker room while the boys are changing.
Yeah, and she has a job at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
right. But I mean, we could make a list of how many times that exact scene has been in high school movies.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what? Let's sit down with a lawyer because, like, weirdly, we know a couple and just watch the movie Never Been Kissed.
Oh, God. That is a movie that just gets more horrifying every year.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I had never seen this before, and I am, you're looking at the girl who can sing at least 6 musicals from overture to closing credits.
Yeah.
So I was willing to buy into and people suddenly break into song in the middle of the hallway, and that doesn't bother me like it bothers some people. My big thing was both a good thing and a bad thing. This movie, there are reasons that plots and tropes exist. This is Romeo and Juliet without swords or poison, which in many ways makes it, as an adult, kind of dull because there aren't any consequences stronger
there are
than...
no stakes in this movie.
Yeah, well, your consequences are embarrassing yourself in front of your friends or disappointing your dad.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, those are really small. On the other hand, do y'all remember being in high school?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of YA literature, and this book in particular, and this movie in particular, it's story with the contrast turned way, way up. And I think that's true of both of the movies that we looked at this week, in that they're simplified. The like I said, the people you're supposed to hate, you're supposed to really hate them, and the people you're supposed to like, you're supposed to really like them. But in this one, like I said, it's less because the kids, when you're a kid, that's a huge life-altering consequences. We as an adult watch this and go, yeah, there's no stakes, but we're also not 12 anymore.
Right?
Yeah.
And not only are there no stakes, but like even the minor stakes, everyone comes out like completely unscathed.
Yeah. Dad's okay with it.
Dad's okay with it. Vanessa Hudgens' character like wins the academic decathlon. They win the basketball game. Everyone's fine. It's great.
Yeah.
Look, if I could put one coda on there at the end, I highly recommend everyone watch the bad lip reading YouTube video for High School Musical.
I will.
Oh, it's so good.
Maybe has a more coherent plot.
It might.
The songs are inarguably better.
Yes.
And also maybe the plot is better.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked on this as a particularly well-crafted piece of product.
Yeah.
Which it literally is.
That's definitely a thing that has to be taken into consideration with this movie. Because, like, the Disney Channel original movies, like, there was one every month. Like, they were churning these suckers out. It was a factory. Like, the fact that High School Musical, out of all of them, just, like, suddenly took off and became, like, a cultural juggernaut was clearly never intended by anyone who worked on it. If only based on the fact that it's still called High School Musical, which is clearly a working title, that they just never came up with anything better for it.
Well, and they're baffled by the fact that that's not working as much right now. Descendants is supposed to be the big one recently, and it is kind of not getting the greatest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still very popular with my 12-year-old.
But I mean, does it have 17.2 million people watching the premiere?
Descendants, I haven't been paying much attention to YA lately. Is Descendants like the new Hunger Games? Like it was.
No, Descendants is that the teenagers are the descendants of fairy tale characters. So you've got like Maleficent's daughter and the handsome prince. Yeah, it's descendants of Disney, specifically the Disney version characters of fairy tales, and they all go to high school together because
the Descendants is the cultural descendant of High School Musical, 100%.
Yeah. They just happen to have fairy tale clothes. They wear very much more interesting clothes, and the music is much less interesting. But it was the full out merchandising, man. There were dolls, there were books, there were notebooks, there was everything.
Yeah.
My daughter loves those movies.
So do you all remember, speaking of that, I actually have a somewhat vivid memory of seeing Rocketeer for the first time. When did it come out, like in 91, 92?
Yep,
1991.
91. So I remember seeing that, and at that point I would have been, what would we have been, Chris, like 8?
Roundabout.
Yeah, so I'm like 8, and I remember seeing that and just like really wanting the action figure for it and not being able to find it anywhere. So I wonder if that was like before Disney really got on the ball with merchandising.
Yeah.
A couple of things. This is where I point out I was out of college for 2 years at this point. Action figures were a thing that started with Star Wars. The IP of this, Aaron had some really good comments about what it was in the zeitgeist and why this came about. But the IP is somewhat is a little confusing because there was the comic book, so there was other people who had rights in this. It wasn't an entirely Disney product. It was a Disney adaptation. But Aaron had some really good comments about what else was going on. Like it was 1991.
So some of the things they had in, you had the beginning of the fall of the Soviet Union. Clarence Thomas was sworn in as for Supreme Court. Yep.
Batman. The Michael Keaton Batman had come out 2 years earlier, and so everybody was like, "We have to have a superhero movie. What can we get rights to cheap?"
And here's the thing: because we're talking about movie studios, they weren't thinking, "Hey, let's call Marvel and DC and get some input." No, it's what do we already have? Oh, we've got the Shadow. We've got
the Phantom.
The Phantom is like which.
Remember the Phantom?
I personally love these movies, but little 12-year-old Timmy has no idea what the phrase "who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men" the Shadow does.
I found when we were cleaning up the miscellaneous stuff in the living room, I came across my promo button from Dick Tracy.
Oh, I was so into Dick Tracy when I was. So I wonder if it's just we're talking about a group of executives who were just 20 years removed. I mean, those were just the people in charge at that point, right?
Well, no. Batman. Like Wendy's 100%. All of this is the fallout from Batman.
Right.
Because no one expected Batman, and no one was able to recreate it.
And so all of a sudden, everyone was trying because it made a shit ton of money, and they're like, "Wait a minute, maybe there's something in this. We got to do one." And that's kind of how this came out.
And then
it was
Batman,
theatrically it was not as great a success at the time, though it has gotten a lot more life in reruns and in streaming because of the nostalgia factor.
Right. And so what about like?
Well, the legend is that Batman's made more in popcorn sales than Rocketeer did at the box office.
What you call it? The Batman movie pretty much paid for Warner Brothers for the next 5 years, just on ticket sales.
Yeah.
So
Rocketeer did not.
No, but
the Rocketeer got beaten out in a lot of ways by things like Terminator 2 was the thing that came out that same summer, and
that's right.
Yeah, between those two, again. Which is little Timmy going to want to see? The highest grossing box office actor in Hollywood at the time, or the
guy with the weird hat.
Or a re-envisioning of something that of 1940s serials.
Right.
which they have no relation to, which is where I said
Yeah.
the pitch of this movie is very different. This is pitched to adults who grew up watching either Saturday morning serials or watching Saturday movie serials or cartoons. It's very specifically calls out the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
And so this was not made for little Timmy. It was made for little Timmy's dad to take little Timmy to.
Right.
Yeah.
My ongoing theory is that when you watch this movie, it is structurally the second best Indiana Jones movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think they pitched it as a comic book movie and then stealth made an Indiana Jones movie.
Well, that was one of the ways. That was one of the ways they were able to get the studio on board. Originally, they wanted to set it in contemporary times, and because they're like, we don't think that audiences are going to dig an action adventure period piece, and they're like, no, there's this little movie that you may have heard of from Steven Spielberg that did pretty well.
Yeah.
Does somebody want to actually describe the plot of this movie for people who will never watch it even after we talk about it for 25 minutes?
Oh, it's so
Can you
good.
You can't
succinctly?
explain the plot without going through every beat, because this is the most Clockwork Universe plot in the history of Clockwork Universe plots.
This
Down
one
on
is a
his
fucking
luck.
Rube
Yeah.
Goldberg machine.
Down on his luck, handsome young pilot suffers a misfortune while and all of a sudden his life seems ruined, but his best girl is still by his side.
Yeah.
However, he then stumbles into a plot involving the FBI, government agents, Howard Hughes, and Nazi spies.
Yeah.
And hilarity ensues.
Here's what I love. I love explaining the first scene of this movie in full context.
Oh yeah.
What happens is that a racing pilot testing out his new plane ends up in the middle of a rolling firefight between the FBI and
Yep.
gangsters hired by a movie star who's a Nazi.
And the FBI is
ends up
working
in
with
the
Howard
possession
Hughes.
of a top secret jetpack.
Yeah.
That was designed by Howard Hughes.
Yes.
And Howard Hughes, I mean, for anyone in our contemporary context, Howard Hughes is one of the good guys in this. Crazy
Yes.
Millionaires, one of the good guys.
Yeah.
We were talking about the unironic thing, and the one thing that this movie does have seriously, and I think the reason a lot of us grab onto it is the good guys are serious good guys. I mean, yes, they're hapless, yes, they're kind of dumb, but they're really good people, and the bad guys are bad guys. I mean, remember when Nazis were bad guys?
Yeah.
Right, but there's two levels of bad guys, because there's bad guys and then there's Nazis, and the bad guys are like, look, I ain't no fucking Nazi.
Yeah.
All of us are like, that's my favorite moment in the movie is,
Yeah.
I may not make an honest living, but I'm 100% American.
Right.
Yeah.
And
There's literal, like Al Capone look-alike stand-in, and then Nazis below him. So we actually do have.
we have two sets of bad guys, and then eventually the mobsters fall in on the side of righteousness because they may be criminal scum, but at least they're not
At least
Nazis.
they're not
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, this movie, I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger popcorn flick, just because it does have that Steven Spielberg, Americana kind of feel to it. Like Tracy and I checked out a projector, like one of the big academic projectors they use in lecture halls from my work, and we projected it on the side of our garage, and we watched it. And
Nice.
it was the perfect way to consume that movie. I mean, I cannot imagine. I imagine that movie is a very different experience, like sitting in your living room watching it.
Yeah.
I did see it on the big screen when it came out, so.
Yeah, same.
I watched it on the big screen, and Sarah and I watched it together last night, and that definitely helps too.
Right.
Where it literally just had Google Hangouts running in the background, and we just synced it up.
Aaron and I were watching it together and going, this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part.
Yep.
Oh my God, Timothy Dalton is so underrated as an actor.
Oh my God.
Dalton is so good in this. Oh my God.
How much is he loving playing evil Bond? What, 2
he's
years,
having the
3
best
years after getting
time.
fired as Bond?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, big teeth marks in that scenery that falls down around him. He's having a blast.
Yeah.
Also, I've had a crush on Jennifer Connelly since I saw Labyrinth at like, what, 5?
A significant portion of the visual canon of this movie was, oh my God, the girl from Labyrinth has boobs.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are several lingering shots of her in various outfits where they have framed, they shoot from her face and frame directly down to her cleavage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
She has grown up. We're like, okay, we get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, except she does have like the Jennifer Connelly eternal baby face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you were about to insult her. You're not allowed to talk bad about Jennifer Connelly around me.
No, I understand. Yeah,
I thought she was good in Alita Battle Angel, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that movie.
Why?
Because I love the manga and I'm an insufferable fanboy. That's what.
Yeah.
You watched it on an airplane and thought it was okay.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of a heartwarming story in many ways. I'm up for anything right now that doesn't depress me, to be honest.
That's fair.
And that right there is why I think watching these movies was good for why they're so popular right now, is because there was the hot take on the news articles lately is romance novels are huge. Mystery novels are not really big right now, and YA is getting a lot of play, and a lot of people are rereading because the baseline level of anxiety for everyone is so high that even the little anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen next is too much.
Yeah.
Like I have found myself rereading, like I am now going to sit down and read all 10 books in this series that I've read 6 times.
Yeah.
Erin's been watching Star Trek.
Yeah.
And Person of Interest.
Yeah.
Because there's
nothing
nothing
Sarah
new.
and I are big fans of things with extremely low stakes.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it's, and that's the thing is that a lot of this is, part of this at this point, it's coming from our shared trauma right now.
Yeah.
But also there is a certain fondness as an adult to either looking back to when the stakes were lower, like in High School Musical, or to, you want to see the good guy get the girl. You want to see the girl, double cross the bad guy. The bad guys are super bad guys.
Yeah.
You want to see that because right now, 2020 is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. You know what was actually
I just like watching any movie where they kill a lot of Nazis.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a moral simplicity to the Rocketeer that is very comforting.
Yes.
Yeah, because even, like I said, when we kept talking about All of Us Love, that even the mobsters are like, okay, I'm scum, but I'm not a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and it's also you said you mentioned the moral simplicity. It's also little moments in The Rocketeer that I absolutely adored. Like there's one scene where the daughter of the restaurant owner comes into the restaurant with her broken airplane, and the retired Air Force, or actually I guess at that time in history that would be Army pilot, Army Air Corps pilot, is an absolute teddy bear, and he's like, oh, absolutely, I'll fix this thing for you, and the exchange of, have I ever told you this story? And the girl's about to do the child thing of, oh God, no, not again, and the mom's like, nope, that's not what we do.
She starts to say yes, and her mother looks at her, and she immediately plasters on this extremely artificial smile, and says, no, tell me, as in, we are nice to the kind of weird old guy that hangs out at the airfield because we're all friends.
Yes, and it's little moments like that just I adore about this movie.
Speaking of that character, can someone unpack the one thing that neither of us can figure out, which is, why do you have to wear the clown outfit?
Because
no one can see you. You're in a goddamn airplane.
Okay, true, but you remember them talking about their previous business?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like he's supposed to walk to the question is, why does he sneak onto the plane as a clown? Because the point would be he like walks out
The insinuation is that the act they've done to make money is that they do tricks.
Right.
Like they're like the between act entertainers for the big racers, right?
I've got an answer. He was under an extreme time constraint to get his ass on that plane and in the air.
No, that's why he did it. What they're asking is why is there such a thing as a clown act in a plane when?
Why do you have to wear the clown outfit? Decorate the plane like a clown.
Okay, I got it. What if they're strictly taking like the format of a rodeo and just transposing it to an air show? And so this
is my thing. Is this real? Like, was this guy
in a
clown suit?
I don't know. Like, was he gonna like go out on the wing?
One would think, but there was only one guy, so you can't do that.
There's just the one guy. Like, you can't see him in the cockpit. Well,
no. If you look during the movie several times, the plane is flying literally 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, right in front of the stands. So yes, they could see the clown, and I think the idea is that it was probably going to be oh my God, this clown. Knowing what I know about the history of clowning, it probably is we're going to do this routine where it looks like this complete idiot has climbed into a plane and is about to crash and he's going to die. And no, he saves it at the last minute. I imagine that's, if that would be my guess. I'm sure Joe is looking it up for us.
Okay. So there is a person, a recent, I don't know.
Recent doesn't work.
No. 1997, Otto the Airshow helicopter clown. But what he does is he paints his helicopter also like a clown. Like he may be dressed as a clown, but it is apparent from the air that a clown resides within that helicopter.
Well, that plane was painted up with patchwork.
Yeah, they did put. There was always there were patches on the plane, but how many of those were real because they called it a flying coffin.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, I kind of love the extent to which the movie occasionally is just like, who cares? We're moving on. We're gonna brush past that.
Everybody there are Tommy guns and bullets flying everywhere to the point where the porch falls off the house. No one even gets hit with a ricochet.
Yeah,
or a splinter.
There's a 7 foot tall giant, presumably German agent assassin who's clearly talking through a plastic mask. But,
he looks like a Dick Tracy villain. That's
what
he does.
Yeah, and then there's the part where the Zeppelin, spoilers, the Zeppelin crashes, and there's like this, how big are Zeppelins? I mean, it's like this flaming ball of hydrogen.
Very large.
Yeah.
But there is still time to run away from the flames. Yes. It's much like any exploding building in an action movie these days. There is always time for the good guys to run away from the explosion without being injured. In this case, it just happens to be a Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But like the main villain dies before the henchman. The henchman dies last, and the henchman dies mostly because of their own incompetence. It is a perfect Bond / Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's only one Indiana Jones movie, so that's a really good track record to hold to.
Well, but again, going back to why it's easy to watch this movie, because yes, it is clockwork, yes, it is comic book, but as I told Aaron, the difference between a bad movie that's bad and a not so great movie that's still okay is that everyone in this movie is 100% committed to those roles. Everyone is 100% earnest about the fact that they are wearing a plastic, ridiculous prosthetic, or Timothy Dalton doesn't actually have his mustache isn't quite long enough to twirl, but it's pretty damn close. So everybody in this movie is 100% committed to those roles, and there's an earnestness that bleeds through because of that. The moment any of those people indicated in any way that they knew they were in a movie, tank the whole thing.
It's all over. And the Timothy Dalton character looked a lot like Walt Disney. I just couldn't stop thinking that.
I think he's pretty clearly supposed to be like Errol Flynn. Like,
that's definitely fake Errol Flynn. Yeah,
that was by design, and the whole Robert Sinclair being a secret Nazi / Hollywood thing was based on a later discredited biography about Errol Flynn that posited that he was a secret Nazi. Not necessarily a here, let me tell you all the secrets, but here, let
Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah, it's it has since been discredited.
I'd love to point out it, or I told Sarah last night when we were watching it, when the gangsters turn on the Nazis, I want to point out this is 1938. Like almost half the country is still not totally on board with Nazis being bad people anymore.
And a certain amount of genteel racism is expected of you.
Yeah.
The LA Mafia was more woke than the United States government.
Yeah.
Yep, Ambassador Kennedy, ambassador to Britain, was a Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah, he was a late convert.
Yeah, that's true. As was the eventual Duke of Windsor.
Yep. There's there's some wonderful, probably apocryphal stories of when he when they booted the ex-king off to where was it? Somewhere in the Bahamas.
They made him Governor General of Bermuda.
Yeah, like there may or may not have been an MI6 person around to like cause an accident if he still continued to speak his mind.
Yeah, they didn't want him in Europe anymore. They're like, why don't you go over there where we have to take a boat to get to you, and so you really can't get into too much public trouble.
Yeah, and apparently there were like really tight MI6 controls on like what reporters were and were not allowed to talk to him and that sort of thing. And there may have been a loose understanding that he drinks a lot. He likes to boat. Hey, I mean, things can happen.
Yeah. But, especially from our point of view, we're looking at this through the lens of 1991 media, where we've, definitely, we know how the war ended. We know that Nazis are bad. So therefore, as I said, the bad guys are really bad guys. The good guys are really good guys. The small fluffy creatures from Alpha Centauri are really small fluffy creatures from Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
Right. This is where we can mourn the decline of modernism to some extent, because we lose that duality and we spend so much time. I mean, I can remember when all the Antifa stuff kind of originally launched off, and I remember a bunch of my typically liberal colleagues like equivocating about whether or not it was okay to punch a Nazi. Like, I'm still baffled by that. I'm like, yes. Did you not watch Indiana Jones? It's okay to punch Nazis.
Right. Captain America was invented to punch Nazis.
Yeah.
That was the entire point.
But like, let's also consider the fact like how out of touch this movie was with the market, because again, this is the year dominated by Terminator 2.
Yeah.
A movie about what if the nightmare creature from the first movie is good guy now. What if we can teach the monster to love?
So again, we've gone from simple comic book, and again, that was what they were leaning for, was that very straightforward. First of all, that's straightforward. We can make a ton of money, but also that whole like I said, there's the earnestness to this movie I also adore. Also, by the way, the costumes are amazing.
Oh, the costumes are incredible in this movie.
I was explaining to Aaron how complicated it is to make bias cut dresses like that.
Best costuming I've seen probably until the sequel came out. Well, ostensibly remake, aka Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
So is there a Frankenstein character? We're talking about Terminator and the Frankenstein hitman in Rocketeer. Is there a Frankenstein character or Frankenstein's monster character in Captain America? I don't know if there is. That makes
arguably
Captain
Red Skull
America
himself.
It's been so long since I watched it.
Yeah, that's a good point. We were watching the American Horror Story series that takes place in a hotel, and it's kind of like an old timey. I think the time period is actually like the 20s or 30s. But there's a character in that show that is very similar to the not Errol Flynn character in The Rocketeer. So I kept expecting him to just lose it and try to like murder people to trap them in his trap their spirits in his Zeppelin. I like to have that meta narrative going on.
See, I'm my go-to media is usually books.
Yeah.
So having all of the streaming channels, and I mean all of the streaming channels, although Aaron and I still have to sort out. I think we're going to use my Hulu is at a discount for another 6 months, so we can save $5 a month if we transfer everything to my Hulu. And we are now an Amazon household.
Yeah.
So I downloaded a bunch of his comic books onto my Kindle.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more. Yeah, I really don't have access to a lot of premium media.
Well, actually,
although I did find it amusing that you were watching on Hulu a manga anime that I saw years ago and almost.
Oh yeah, I just finished binging High School of the Dead it's
High School of the Dead. Yes.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. It is exactly what I just described, the title.
Yeah, it is the zombie apocalypse comes and the high school students are escaping, and gosh, this character just happens to have been president of the kendo club. Wow. Yeah. And the lead girl and one of the kids is a total otaku who, you know, who loves guns and all of a sudden he's in a world where he can be the first person shooter and like it's scary. Yeah. And the lead girl is like a Naginata aficionado just cuz.
Yeah.
The whole thing is all like that. It's quite fun. I thought about cosplaying one of the characters before I remembered that I'm 53 and shouldn't wear mini skirts anymore.
Yeah. Well, since we're on the subject of streaming services, this might be a good transition to what is our topic next week, and what's our homework movie going to be?
Yeah. So at this point I've lost track of like who has recommended what. Yeah. But the 3 things up for consideration this week for next time are 4 things. 4 things. There are 4 things. I'm sorry. So we had someone add something. So it's Hudson Hawk, Underworld, Time Cop, and then we have Willow or Tangled. Willow is the
I said we can only do that if I can talk about my crush on Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
That's how we choose movies, and that is why we're going to watch Bill and Ted when it comes out, right, everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Underworld, is that the one with the vampires versus werewolves?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw it long ago, and the fight scenes were pretty well choreographed. That's about all I remember.
Yeah, that's all you need to remember.
Yeah.
What is currently streaming on that list? I know that Underworld is on Netflix. Actually, the first 3 Underworld movies are on Netflix right now.
Isn't Hudson Hawk also Disney, Chris?
No.
Is it?
No.
There's no way.
I don't know, man. I think you'd be surprised by some of the stuff. Let me see.
I don't know.
Well,
Vatican Assassins seems like seems a bit much for even Disney.
Yeah, it's on Prime. Hudson Hawk.
All right.
Well, that was the whole reason that Disney spun off Buena Vista. We want to make movies that have swearing in them. And we don't want people to say, oh my God, they're swearing in Disney movies. So they spun off Buena Vista so that they could do more adult content, which is still, it's adult for Disney.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want to make movies where everybody doesn't go, oh my God, it's a Disney movie.
Well, I mean, I would be okay with any of those. The 2 on that list that I'm most interested in watching again would be Willow or Underworld, but I would be okay with any of the others.
I have never seen Hudson Hawk or Time Cop.
Wait, I have to throw this in right now because I just looked it up. God damn it. They fucking own everything. Hudson Hawk was a TriStar movie, which was owned by Sony.
Which has been bought by Disney.
Hudson Hawk.
I fucking knew it.
There were some beautiful Spider-Man cosplays during that whole negotiation at cons, by the way. It was beautiful. Lots of Spider-Man holding up signs going, we'll work for hire.
This is supposed to be Hudson Hawk poster, but I grabbed it very quickly and didn't size it right.
And all we can see is some guy's jaw and a black shirt, and he has a bunch of earrings.
Oh, you know what jaw that is. You know what jaw that is.
Yeah, it's Bruce Willis.
Have you all ever seen the so you know how we've talked about this before, but they made all those TV shows about like the toys that made us, like that whole series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's the film one, the movies that made us, and there's one on oh my God, why is it just it's the movie Bruce Willis is famous for. It's just totally flown out.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Yeah. And about how like he was on that wasn't he on like a bad soap opera or like a really
Moonlighting.
He was on Moonlighting.
Yeah, and so they were just talking about like how they brought Bruce Willis over, how no one thought that would work, and now that's like literally all Bruce Willis does.
Yeah.
Well, I am also of the opinion that Bruce Willis is only capable of playing Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that they managed to find places where it is okay for him to play Bruce Willis, which is
It
makes
was-
it successful.
Those
It was
places-
okay as long as he was still trying.
That's true.
Yeah.
Triangulate the exact moment he gave up. And
when he
it's
played a
called,
fucking sheriff in a small town at some point, as inevitably he did.
well, like, I don't know if you saw, like, the fourth Die Hard movie.
I did.
The one that was made, like, for the Russian market, like, 100%.
Yeah.
And then, and actually, the fifth one is even more blatant. I think the fifth one was actually shot in Russia. Yeah, he's given up.
He's never had the greatest depth of performance, and again, I gotta say that
committed.
he's totally committed to being Bruce Willis. He is 100% Bruce Willis.
Now, you all know the story with Hudson Hawk, right? This is
No.
I am
such
shaking
a
my head
blank-
no.
This is such a blank check movie. Like, this was Bruce Willis's passion project.
Yeah.
This was something that he pushed. He cashed in every check he had.
Yeah.
In. I think that is, oh my God. Like, he was going to, like, use this to launch his singing career.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I don't suspect, being as this was not successful, I do not suspect that he is a talented singer.
I have to interject. I had a copy on cassette tape of his album, and yeah, it was not great. It was not great.
Wasn't he one of the original owners of like all the Planet Hollywood things? Like,
Yes.
wasn't
Yeah, he was one of the original investors.
it was like his attempt to force people to listen to him play harmonica? Wasn't that basically like the whole motivation behind that?
It was also, we have a fuck ton of memorabilia that's sitting in our closets. Let's use it to make money.
Yeah.
The easiest way I can describe him as a singer, does anyone not remember his Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler ads?
yes.
That imagine that as a 2-hour album. It's
Okay.
I'd rather not.
yeah.
Okay, so I kind of
Look,
if
Hudson Hawk was literally written by Bruce Willis, you all.
okay, so
I'm going to have to watch this thing now, am I?
Chris is selling this real hard, so I feel like we'll just let him have this one if no one else.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you guys want to take a break from musicals, and I get it, so we'll totally get away with something.
Oh, bullshit. Hudson Hawk is a musical, and you know it. You don't fool me. I've
I
seen this
don't
movie.
remember that. What kind of musical is it? I've seen the movie.
So, okay, remember the whole diegesis conversation from last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the musical numbers in this movie are him and Danny Aiello are cat burglars who like to break into places, and they need to synchronize the time, right? But they don't like using watches because, you got to keep looking at it. So they they look at the job and they realize how long the job's going to take, and they pick a song. Now,
You realize that your accent just suddenly changed to sound like a bad gangster?
you sound like Bruce Willis in this fucking movie.
Like your entire speech pattern changed when you started explaining this to us.
Yeah.
I'm more doing Danny Aiello, but it's hard to explain the extent to which they're like, you have to understand, Bruce Willis sees himself as a blue-collar guy. He's like, I'm a Jersey guy, before and foremost. Like, this is what we do. And so him and Danny Aiello know the exact length of every song ever in the English language. Like, they quiz each other on, like, how long songs are. And so they'll pick a song, and they're like, 5:43, swinging on a star, swinging on a star. And they split up, and they sing and dance while they're doing this happens 3 times in the course of the movie.
The saving grace for this movie are the 2 lead bad guys.
Oh God, yeah, it's shit.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well,
This is where we point out that we're going to talk about this next
Yeah.
time.
There's Sandra Bernhard and who else?
Okay.
And one of the bad guys in the last Star Wars movie. Not Hux, but the other one.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
So
the only characters, and also this is another one of those movies where, like, we all remember in the 90s when Hollywood decided that Andie MacDowell is a character that we need, is an actor that we need, but no one knew what to do with her.
Yeah.
This movie is the epitome of we cast Andie MacDowell and we don't know what to do with her.
Yep. All right. So that's movie number one. Movie number two. What say the council?
You guys want to do 2 movies every time, or do you want to do 1 movie and then like a different topic? I put this. I mean, I could do either. It doesn't matter to me. I just feel like if we do this time, for some reason, High School Musical and Rocketeer worked. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
how that happened?
Because they're totally identical.
Yes. Totally. They're the same movie.
Well, again, I drew a lot of parallels between them from a thematic standpoint. So, yeah, I can argue that.
Yep.
What's tonally similar to Hudson Hawk, though?
I haven't seen it.
I know I haven't seen it either, so I don't know. But it sounds.
Okay.
That's the musical.
Oh, do we want to watch Cats? I'll watch Cats again. Fuck yeah.
No.
We can't just watch musicals, you guys. We
Why
gotta,
not?
Why not?
I saw Cats on Broadway, and even I haven't seen the movie because I'm just like, this is appalling.
I've
Oh,
seen
it was
both.
incredible.
I
Chris
love
and I went to like the like 10:40 at night, like the last showing at the local multiplex, on like a Sunday night, like the weekend that it opened. We were the only people in the entire theater.
There was a lot of that going around.
Oh, we had to go because we got word that they were going to patch out all of the really bad CGI.
Yeah, the fingers.
We both had shit to do in the morning, and we were like, fuck, we gotta go see Cats though, because if we go later, they're gonna patch out all the really terrible CGI.
Okay, so first of all, I have to point out that I forgot that they made it into a CGI movie. I thought we were talking about watching like a recording of the musical.
Which would be infinitely superior to what appeared on screen.
Joe, hey, I'm going to remind you how long 2020 has been. That movie came out in January of this year.
Oh my god. Guy butthole, like removing the... I remember that whole discussion. Okay,
Release the butthole cut.
That was 8 months ago.
So I think if we watched Cats, we have to watch it with Underworld. I feel like there are some commonalities there. So what are
Hudson Hawk, I'm telling you.
Thematically. Okay, so what are we going to watch with Hudson Hawk?
But where can one get a copy of Cats though? Because I mean, everything on the list except for that is
you have to buy it. Is the
Yeah.
problem.
Cats is already available for home viewing, but you have to buy it. So we'll maybe save that for later.
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to get any better.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Willow.
Hudson Hawk and Willow.
There's enough separation there, and there's enough. There are enough differences to make that discussion just not like one continuation of the same thing.
Plus, Willow will be a good palate cleanser after you've seen Hudson Hawk.
Here's the thing.
I'm a fantasy movie nut, and even I admit that Willow is perhaps not of the highest quality.
You don't need a palate cleanser after you watch Hudson Hawk because it's like diarrhea. It just flows through you. Nothing's going to stay.
You just need to drink a lot of water while you're watching it.
It's not a sticky movie. I am the person that's obsessed with Hudson Hawk because I watched this movie at 10. And I'm going, at 10 years old, I'm like, what the fuck is this? What is happening?
And Wendy, as Chris and I have explained to everyone else, in our small hometown where we grew up when we were kids, there was one, privately owned movie store that was not affiliated with Blockbuster or anything. And Hudson Hawk was the movie that was always there. There were 10 of these movies, and Chris and I have seen each of them 150 times. So that's part of what's going on here.
Whereas I come from small town New Jersey, but it was the days before VHS. When my freshman year of college, the dorm had a VCR that you could check out for the evening. So we didn't have VCRs at home. I grew up in the land of the mall, where we all went to hang out at the mall, and then we went to the movies, because northern New Jersey is the L5 point around which all malls in the world circulate. There are literally 3 malls within a quarter mile of each other, and there are knifings every Christmas season over parking spaces.
Is that an orbital insertion joke?
We need to have a mall episode at some point, because like right now, what's happening to malls is totally fascinating. Just in terms of like even the St. Louis area, there's just a bunch of abandoned malls that have like fucking giant trees growing through the roofs, and we
have to go looking for the description of that one science fiction convention that got moved to a mall, and like the dealer's room was in the food court, and there was a dead raccoon for like most of the weekend, and they finally took it away on Saturday, and the dealers built a shrine to the dead raccoon. Because I gotta find out what con that was, but yeah, they moved a con to a mall. Well, I mean, if you're gonna do malls, there was which Day of the Dead? Which Romero movie was the mall one?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
No, the original Dawn of the Dead was like the house. Which one was the one where they were in the mall? Because that has my favorite movie credit ever.
Night of the Living Dead was the one.
Yeah, okay. So Dawn of the Dead was the mall one.
Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
Because that has the best movie credit I have ever seen. Someone can actually put on their resume, half dead woman on table. And I'm like, I want a career of playing woman in hat.
Can I just throw out there that can we just never, ever, ever watch the other Dawn of the Dead ever again? Ever?
Oh, the Zack Snyder one? Yeah, fuck it.
The one that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fucking hate that movie.
For many years, I would hold zombie parties on Easter.
Sure.
He rose from the dead and he wasn't alone. I once made a Easter bunny cake that was being devoured by zombie peeps as a centerpiece for my party. And I remember you were there, Aaron, one year. It was you and Bill and I. We were pointing out all the places where George Romero broke his own rules.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just...
If we're doing zombies, then can we do Jesus Christ Superstar at some point? My favorite zombie movie.
I just thought of a possibility for the second movie. I'm not sure if it's... I'm away from my computer, so I can't check to see if it's streaming on Hulu or anywhere, but we could do Hudson Hawk and El Dorado, or Road to El Dorado.
I love Road to El Dorado.
Yeah,
I know it only from memes.
Yep.
Really?
Yes.
And the thematic thread is buddy movies.
Sure.
Okay.
I love the Road to movies.
Yeah. I'm talking about the animated one.
Yeah. Road to El Dorado is with the two guys in the llama.
Yeah.
And the crazy emperor.
This is.
I think you're talking about the Emperor's New Groove, Wendy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No. There's a DreamWorks Road to El Dorado.
Yeah.
I think it's streaming on Hulu, but I'm not sure.
It's still yet another advantage of let us take conquistadors and make them funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's on Hulu. I don't have Hulu though.
Maybe okay, so maybe not that one. Skip that one.
We can we can vote on the. We'll set up like when the next one's going to be, and I'll set up the sheet, and we can just do like a blind vote of some kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
We know that we're doing Hudson Hawk.
Yeah. We at least know that. We've got that ground to stand on.
I don't remember this being in the vows, hon. I'm sorry. I don't remember a lot of the ceremony, but I don't remember the podcast being in there.
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It is truly terrible. But what makes it so great is to look at, like, this is what Bruce Willis bet his fame on.
Yeah.
This is
what he called in his markers for, and this is what he got.
Yeah. If you want to see the purest expression of what he thinks cool looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do another big terrible passion project movie though, because there are a bunch of those.
Yeah.
There's a lot to choose from for there.
I almost wonder, and I do want to watch Hudson Hawk. I almost wonder if we should save Hudson Hawk for when the Bill and Ted movie comes out, because Bill and Ted it's the same thing, because it's Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter for years advocating to make this movie.
Well, okay, but that's remaking like a known property. Hudson Hawk.
And it's not going to it's likely not going to totally suck, because it's going to consist entirely of references to other movies that we liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of another passion.
Oh, the only thing I can think of off the top of my head right now is John Carter, like that terrible like John Carter of Mars adaptation, which I've never actually seen, but I hear it's terrific.
I like that movie, but I like and hate it at the same time. One I like is because it's a fun, stupid movie. I hate it because of its lack of success. Disney said, you know what, we're going to pause on making Tron 3 because we just lost a big pile of dough. It's
Yeah.
Oh,
we were actually talking about this the other night. On the cocktail party, we were talking about this movie and how the marketing campaign was entirely it was very clear Disney was trying to bury this movie.
Yeah.
Because the trailers are nothing like the actual movie.
They lost so much money on John Carter that Disney has been the most disruptive force in the entertainment industry in the last 20 years.
Oh yeah.
And this is the movie that kicked it off. Like, the entertainment industry that we are all watching right now lives in the radioactive crater left behind by John Carter of Mars.
Yeah.
Like, it is just...
Yeah.
I think they dropped the of Mars. I think it is recent as...
Yeah, they dropped the of Mars. Because the actual book is entitled The Princess of Mars, the first one.
Yeah. It was originally, when they first announced it was going to be John Carter of Mars.
Which is actually book 5.
Right. And then I think people got confused because, this looks like cowboys and shit. Why is this saying it's on Mars?
Yeah.
And they're right. It is confusing.
I had all the books. I came into science fiction via Star Wars, and many of us maintain that the golden age of science fiction is 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you are 11 years old, that is the perfect age. And so I owned the complete set of the Edgar Rice Burroughs Mars novels.
Sure. When my son turned 11, that's weird you say that exact age, I handed him a copy of Dune, and I told him he had until 15 to read it or he never would.
Yeah.
I read a lot of the greats because I was like, ooh, there's science fiction and stuff. I read my way through my small town library, and my parents actually had to advocate. My mother had to advocate getting me an adult library card at the regional library because she's like, you don't understand. She reads 3 books a week. I can't keep driving her back here. You have to let her take out more books. She's reading the encyclopedia. Both of them.
Yeah.
Man, but maybe someday we should just do the debate where we try to decide objectively, and I say that as a person who doesn't believe in objectivity. Is Dune actually a good book?
Poor Aaron was trying to read Dune Messiah, and I'm like, dude, just skip it. Children of Dune is acceptable, but don't even bother with the middle one.
I have never read Dune, and I'm not planning to. So
You're
I
too
don't
old.
think that's
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it works up until about college age because college age can lock onto the whole visions thing and destiny and all of that. We're too cynical. It works on a political level now. I mean, it can work as reading as an adult. It can work on a interactive political level. It can work on this is one of the first big, huge, galactic empire spanning political thing. You know, it's interesting to read for where it was in history.
If the
objectively,
movie,
is it a good book?
If the movie ever comes out, we could probably discuss it then.
Yeah.
The one where my daddy plays daddy.
Yeah. I struggled to get through Messiah though, because I was like, you know what? I thought Lestat was a bad narrator. I've been proven wrong.
He told me he was reading it, and I just looked at him and said, "Why?"
Yeah.
Dune is okay for what it is. Children of Dune explores similar themes in a different way, but it's at least readable. There are relatable characters and a plot. Dune Messiah is Paul Atreides yammering to himself for, a couple of hundred pages. It's boring as hell.
Yeah.
And the most interesting character ends up, most interesting character is his sister, and they just rip her to pieces.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, I'm going through and I was just looking up some of the other movies we put on our list. So, Time Cop cost $27 million to make and had a box office of $101.6 million.
What? That movie did well?
Time Cop was in the 90s was a huge success.
Yeah.
Time
Well,
Cop?
it was
Oh, Aaron,
It
for
was
God's sake, turn on the light in there.
all
No
right.
one can see you.
Time Cop, the movie about a dude whose weakness is masturbation.
Wendy from now on gets a producer credit for rating this podcast.
I'm like, dude, you're sitting there in the dark.
What's that, Sarah?
I don't think I actually know what Time Cop is.
Time Cop is
I've never seen it.
Jean-Claude Van Damme going back in time, and if he touches himself, the world ends.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits many times, which is every Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
I mean,
And-
sure. Did I write this movie?
So
I can't believe I haven't seen this before.
So they take that idea that the same matter can't occupy the same space at the same time to mean that if
Okay.
two time travelers touch each
Okay.
other, the world explodes.
Sure.
But most of the movie mostly revolves around excuses for Jean-Claude Van Damme to kick people high.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is the point of a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? I ask you.
He much like Bruce Willis he plays Jean-Claude Van Damme very well. I would argue he has a slightly wider acting ability than Bruce Willis, but not by much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If it helps, Sam Raimi was tangentially involved in this movie. I don't know.
Speaking
Can
of Sam,
we do a whole run where we just watch all the great Jean-Claude Van Damme clusterfucks? Like,
speaking of Sam Raimi, though, I highly recommend. There's a movie that was produced by Sam Raimi last year called Crawl, and it is
Which is not to be confused with Krull.
right. No, Crawl like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, hurricane passes over Florida.
was this the Gator movie?
Yes, the Gator movie.
Okay.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, it is a. We're talking about comfort food. This is exactly what it promises to be. It is a no frills. Hurricane comes in. Not quite Olympic level swimmers. Dad gets trapped in the basement of his house. She has to go rescue him. Oh, and by the way, while he's trapped in the basement, like under like pipes and so forth, gators.
That's how Aaron described it to me. He's like, he's got to rescue him, and oh, by the way, there's alligators.
Yeah.
And
We should put that on the. Let's put that one on the list, and I suggest we do Time Cop. Then we do Hudson Hawk Time Cop, because
Okay.
Time Cop.
Action stars failing to be anything other than action stars.
okay,
Now I want to watch a Hudson Hawk Time Cop. That's a great premise.
Where okay is Time Cop streaming somewhere?
Yeah, let me look up.
If it
It's like
isn't,
Amazon.
if it isn't, it's like $2 on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's probably true.
There's no way it's expensive.
Yeah, I will pony up for an Amazon rental for that.
It looks like it's on Hulu.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, I'm currently paying $1.99 for Hulu, so
Yeah.
I joined, watched a bunch of stuff, and then quit. And then they spent 6 months trying to get me to come back, and then they're finally like, "Okay, $2 a month," and I'm like, "Sold."
Yeah,
Like-
I did the Disney bundle.
My problem is just I up until recently I live alone.
Yeah.
I work full time.
Yeah.
I run conventions.
Yep.
And I'm president of my condo board.
Yeah.
I can't watch more than 2 streaming services worth of stuff no matter what I do.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's why I never had cable. I'm like, I can't watch 100 books worth of TV in a month.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Develop crippling, life-altering levels of insomnia for your entire life.
Or just get trapped, just experience a pandemic and be trapped in your house.
Yeah.
You know what we've been watching that's actually really good on Tracy has BritBox, and it has all the Agatha Christie street characters and everything. There's a show with Gillian Anderson, and it's called
The Fall?
The Fall. It's so good.
I haven't watched it, but I know about all Gillian Anderson projects because I'm a lesbian.
Yeah,
Beat me to it.
BritBox is one of those things that between the two of us, hon, we have multiple email addresses, and so I can get the free trial before I go through the paperwork of changing my name, and then because I'm going to change my email address as well, so I will have different debit card number and different last names, so we can get at least 3 free trials with the people in this household.
Yeah,
right. Aaron, it's got like complete Doctor Who. It's tons of stuff.
We've been watching a lot of Pluto TV because Pluto does not. My executive functioning has been absolute pants since at least April. So the actual idea of scrolling through a streaming service and making a conscious decision as to what to watch is more than my brain can handle.
Understandable.
So Pluto is like, what's on now? Hey, look, we can always watch old Doctor Who. There's an entire channel of Leverage. There's an entire channel of the Addams Family.
Yeah.
And it's all free.
Yeah.
I'm only 7 episodes into it because they're an hour each, and I do have a job despite not sleeping. Fucking Umbrella Academy season 2 is next level.
I need to start that.
I've heard good stuff. Yeah, Robin Hollister was saying it that was really good.
Yeah.
And that's on what? Is that Prime?
It's Netflix.
Netflix. Okay.
That's a Netflix original.
Okay, so Aaron, you haven't set Netflix up on the TV out here yet.
No, not
You
yet.
gave the logins for Disney, but
We'll do.
It's about a murder baby who takes a superpowered dysfunctional family back to Dallas in 1963 to engage in conspiracies. My id made this season of this.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Sarah, I mean, it's like it finally did that thing where it acknowledged that Ellen Page is in it, and maybe we should use her.
Great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of longing looks in a Texas.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
A lot of simmering, a lot of a lot of mid-century design. One of the few shows that acknowledges the difficulties of time traveling while black.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Speaking of Ellen Page, man, I think she's probably about done being jumping in mocap suits after. Did you guys see? So for I don't know who plays video games and who doesn't, but you guys all know The Last of Us, right? It was like really popular.
She didn't
work
on that, did she?
No.
No, she's the main character in it.
No, it just looks like her.
Yeah.
That's Ellen Page. No way, dude.
No.
That's not her.
No way.
That's Ashley. What's her name from Critical Role? I did it.
Aaron.
No, Aaron's right.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying though.
It just looks exactly like her.
How many? There's another movie or there's another video game of that sort that also has like an Ellen Page lookalike in it.
Well, there was a video game that starred Ellen Page as a psychic thing, but that's not Last of Us.
That's a different Last of Us.
Okay. Her name is Ellie, and she looks exactly like Ellen Page, but it's not her.
No,
it's not. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, the whole point of that was the new Last of Us. It has like a muscular lesbian in it who offended all of the fragile cis white men.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I imagine that game is pretty much done. Okay, so we can keep talking, but I'm going to stop recording if anyone has anything they'd like to say as a side off. Please feel free.
All right, watch Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
Like I said, I think the it's good to enjoy simple things right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you next time when we're swinging on a star.
I hate it.
I hate
And
you
now
all
I
right
stop
now. I
recording.
just want you to know that.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for this episode 6 of Season 4 of the Gateway Geeks Podcast, The Golden Age for Mobster Morality. Thanks to our hosts, Sarah Jane Connor, Chris Knetzer, Aaron Robb, and Joe Kohlburn, and our newest host and associate producer, Wendy Zdrowdowski. See you next time when we watch Hudson Hawk and Time Cop.